So you want to know these things. So if you have a greenhouse, if you have a room indoors, if you have a garage, and guys, I'm gonna tell you this. There's a lot of things goes on in gardening. There's a lot of things goes on in gardening, and people give a lot of information. But the truth of the matter of fact is, sometimes you got to experience it to realize, okay, this is real. Because a lot of plants, guys, sometimes you grow in different plants, and these different plants, I learn a lot. Oh, thank you, God. I'm not saying I'm not saying that it just showing up and it just disappearing after screen. So I'm sorry for that. But yes, plants. There's lots of different plants, many different type of plants. And the thing about these things, plants so unique that plants their requirement is different. Many of these plants, their requirement is different. The things then one might need love water, the other mightn't love water. When I say love water, meaning some of them will require their root to be wet and soak at all time. And some of them only require the root wet and the water run off and they okay. These are things you have to do in order for great success and great harvest. You have to know these things. How you know these things? Study the plants. You see, this is why garden season never over. Because now you in the fall. This is the fall heading for winter. And this is when you should be doing a lot of research. This is when you should be doing a lot of research. When I say a lot of research, I'm not talking about go online. I'm talking about plants, studying your plants. For the people who grow indoors, you see, this is what I'm saying, guys. What I'm saying to you guys here today, this is facts. I'm not just speaking. This is facts. There's many people, and this is what does confuse me, because this is why you got to pay attention, guys, right? And learn for yourself. Because sometimes people spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to do a setup for plants. Maybe sometimes for even overnight, even overwintering plants. Some people might spend thousands, maybe hundreds of dollars. And the truth of the matter of fact is they didn't have to spend that amount of money. But because you might be watching someone and what they're doing sometimes, and all it takes a lot of money out of your pocket, which you didn't have to spend them. If you're in cold zone, like these zone that freeze, that always cold, it might be a little different. But when you're in certain zone that don't give you that freezing, you don't need to spend too much money trying to save any plants. Because I have fruit trees. And I'm going to give you guys a trick as well. I have tropical fruit trees, mango trees, golden apple trees, papaya trees. Indoors without a grow light, in a room without a grow tent. Lemon, soursop, sugar apple. All these plants I have growing indoors without a grow tent and doing well. You see what I'm saying? Or without a grow light. No grow light. All I have is a regular light up in the ceiling, shining down on them, and that keeps them. And tropical plant is more difficult to take care of indoors because tropical plants, we know tropical plants prefer the heat, the sunlight. But all you're doing, you only trying to keep them alive to take them out in the spring. That's all you're doing. Because number one, they're not gonna produce. Number one, they're not gonna produce anything in the indoors. They're not gonna produce anything indoors. All you're trying to do is keep them that they could survive during the winter. So spending all this money and thousands of dollars to keep some plants, you ain't really got to do that. If you have a garage, you could spread a carpet on the floor and you can keep them in that garage with a regular light over them and they will survive. Spending all this money to keep these plants. I have my Chapika. Okay, all right. Okay, let me pay more attention to the chat. Yes. So, in the garage, you could rest them on a carpet because you don't want the coldness to penetrate their root. So you rest it on a carpet, and sometimes you don't even have to rest it on a carpet. Sometimes you just rest it like that, but I'm just saying. If you have a carpet, you could rest it on it so it's not gonna penetrate, the coldness not gonna penetrate. With a regular light over it, and they will survive. Don't overwet them too much because that could create root rot and these type of stuff. Spending all this money is really not necessary. You see what I'm coming from? It's not necessary spending all this money to keep plants. Plants, let me give you a trick. You see, many people wait until the cold weather. Okay, hold on. All right. Many people wait until the cold weather strike, like 2 days before the cold weather strike. Many people now bringing in their plant. No, you can't do that. You got to bring in your plant at least a month before that frost, before that cold weather. Maybe a month and a half before that cold weather. So now these plants gonna start to adjust because you got to remember, plants adjust. Plants adjust. So now, when you bring in these plants at least a month or a month and a half before the cold weather start approaching. So what's gonna happen? These plants gonna start to adjust themselves to the temperature, to the climate you create inside for them. So by the time the coldness comes off, they already adjust themselves. So they already adjust themselves because they're not getting the sun. It's been a month and a half since they did not get sunlight, didn't touch them. So they start to get used to that type of temperature and the type of climate that you create for them. That helps you save a bunch of money. That helps you because the plant already adjusts itself to the temperature you have inside. So the plant understand that I'm not dealing with this heat. They're not getting that full sun anymore because you have them indoor. So when the coldness approach now, the plants already adjust themselves to the environment you create inside for them. So it make it easier for you to only have a light, a regular light over them, instead of you have to buy a grow light, because grow light ain't cheap. Grow light is not cheap. So, you know what I mean? You got to buy a grow light, you might have to buy a grow tent, you might have to buy all that. And all this costs money. And on this side, I'm not trying to spend money growing no food. If I can grow my food without spending any money, that's what I'm for. And this is what I'm trying to encourage you guys. You can do it. You can do it. You just got to try. If you don't try, you will never know. Don't run out there. Don't follow people and run out there and spending hundreds and thousands of dollars to keep a few plants indoors until springtime. What you can do, like I mentioned to you, if the cold weather begin, you know the cold weather going to be starting in a month, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, you start bringing plants in to the different environment, because now these plants is not gonna get no hot sun until next spring. So you want to bring them in, meaning while the temperature is good, you have that little warm temperature outdoors, but they not get in the sun. So when the coldness come, they adjust already. So all you need is a regular light over them. And I'm telling you this because this is facts I'm telling you here. It works, especially if you're in the warmer climate. Like if you're in areas where you might be getting a lot of snow, a lot of different type of, it might be a little more challenging. But anyhow, you in these zone 7 zone, 8 zone, believe it, it can work. Because I'm seeing it work. I don't believe in spending more money than I can harvest out my garden. You see what I'm saying? I don't want to spend $1,000 and I can't get $200 food out my garden. What sense is that? That don't make no sense to me. So my goal is to spend less and harvest more. So this is why I study and I think about every plant I plant in my garden. I study them. The ones them in the container, I study them. Because you want the most out of them. You see what I'm coming from? You want to know when is the best time to plant a certain plant. These guys, people might say, oh, you don't. Yes, you do. You need to know these information. This is how you get production. This is how you get your plants continue producing. Because you plant them in the right season, the right time. You got to know when, if you should plant a plant in March, or if you're supposed to plant it in April, because you got to understand, it changes from the winter into the spring. That's a transformation in the soil.